Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for taking the time to join our webinar session today. So just firstly from our side, from NuPay side, and for me specifically as a customer service representative in NuPay, I must honestly say that we are definitely missing the physical on-site visits with our customers, and we appreciate the opportunities like this where we can engage with our customers again. So throughout this session, please feel free to pose questions with the Q&A function. And then what we'll do at the end of the session, we will handle all the questions and provide answers to them as well. So also from our side, in these extremely challenging times, we'd like to share our heartfelt support and solidarity with all our customers at NuPay, as well as the Altron group. The health and safety of our colleagues, our customers, partners, as well as the communities that we operate in is and will always be our #1 priority in NuPay. At NuPay, we were quite in a unique position where we could respond quickly with the coronavirus outbreak, and we were able to allow our staff to work from home, obviously with the emphasis on decentralization. And the past few weeks have proven to us that we can make that work with our staff working from home. That being said, from a customer perspective, we also had to respond quickly to ensure that our customers are also able to continue their operations, obviously in line with the rules and regulations set forth by government as well. Now, due to this, it has allowed NuPay the opportunity to deploy some unique and innovative solutions to assist our customers. Now, most of these solutions have been driven through suggestions from our customers, and we'd still like to urge our customers to continue providing us with possible suggestions and solutions to assist them at the end of the day. So what we'll be doing is, throughout this presentation, we'll just be going through some of the solutions that we have already made available and things that we are looking at in the near future to assist our customers during this lockdown period. Please also note this recording will be made available after the session as well. So if you are struggling a bit with the technology, or if you lose connectivity or if it goes down, we will make it available afterwards for all our customers to view as well. So to go through some of the solutions that we have looked at. So the first foremost solution that we implemented was in conjunction with Delta and NuPay, which was mainly for our microlending customers, but this is our online loan solution. So obviously being faced with lockdown and our customers not being able to be open, we had to look at a solution where our microlending customers could still issue loans from their stores without having to have that face-to-face contact with customers. So what we did was, with Delphin and the Waveland program, we created a functionality where you can send a mass SMS to all your customers with a URL in the SMS. When the customers click on this URL, it takes them through to a Waveland solution where they can apply for a loan online with our customer, with our merchant. They would need to fill in all the details, supply copies of their documents, and upload that into the system. What then happens is the system sends through the documentation as well as the loan request to the merchant, where the merchant can now vet the application, and then they can either approve or decline the credit to the customer. Once they have approved the credit to a customer, they can then further go on and actually schedule a debit check TT1 transaction, a ERA transaction, or an MPS EFT transaction, which allows them to schedule that installment to be deducted on the required date from the customer. All of this is also signed electronically, so there's no need for your consumer to actually provide a physical signature on documentation as well. Furthermore, you also then have the option to actually transfer the funds to the customer, either via NuCard that we already have integrated as well, or via EFT solution. So this way, we've completely removed the requirement for your customer to be face-to-face in your environment, and you can do the whole loan process online with the customer. Our second solution, and also a promotion that we're running at the moment, is with regards to our NuCard program. So customers that have NuCard at the moment already know how the NuPay NuCard works. However, for our customers that currently do not use NuCard, so NuCard is a card facility made available where you can disperse funds onto a card or load funds onto a card, issue the card to a customer or consumer, and then they can use that card for either transactions, point of sale transactions, or for cash withdrawals. Now, during this difficult time, we've seen that a lot of our customers are in regions where unfortunately there's no standard bank ATMs available, and the withdrawals at all other bank ATMs used to be much higher. So what we've done from NuPay side is we've actually had to reduce the cost. So we're subsidizing these costs in order for your consumers to be able to withdraw funds from any ATM. So these fees have been reduced to 11 Rand a withdrawal. And if you do a withdrawal at a standard bank ATM, it's still 10 Rand a withdrawal. Furthermore, we've also made new cards available at a reduced cost to our customers. So currently we're running a promotion on NuPay branded cards, which looks like this new blue NuPay card, at 15 Rand per card. So whether you're an existing new card customer or a customer possibly interested in new card, we can offer you these cards at 15 Rand a card. Our next solution that we're currently looking at is a unique solution. It's called SigniFlow. So what SigniFlow allows us to do is to create and send electronic documents to our merchants. So this allows our merchants to actually sign documents that they require for NuPay without having to physically print these documents and scan these documents back in. What happens is when the document is uploaded and sent through to the merchant, he receives a communication and he goes onto the SigniFlow app, and it allows him to sign wherever he needs to sign on the document. This is then saved and electronically sent back to NuPay, and then we can proceed with the documentation. We're also looking at making this available in the near future to our customers so that you can also use this application when you need to send documents through to your customers that they need to sign and complete. Then our NuPay e-commerce platform. So specifically for our customers in the retail space, where you're not able to have your customers face-to-face, we already have an e-commerce solution available. If you're an existing customer and you have a website where you sell your products or services, and you'd like for your consumers to be able to pay via your website, we can already implement the NuPay e-commerce solution for you on your website. This is 3D secure, and your customers can simply pay by entering their card details and proceeding with the transaction. What we're also doing from NuPay side is we are currently working with a service provider that will allow customers to create apps or templates on an app where they can also sell their products and services. So this will allow consumers to go onto an app and process a transaction through the app, which will then directly communicate through to our merchant in order to receive funds for that transaction being processed. So we are still busy with this, but we will be releasing that very shortly to our customers as well. Then also in terms of safety requirements, so there definitely was a need for this from our customers where they have asked us whether we do have partners or other companies available in order for them to get health and safety equipment that they require during this lockdown period. So the Altron Health Tech Group, which is part of our Altron group, have partnered with NuPay in order to make thermal screening devices available for customers. So these are different devices that we have available. They include contactless thermometers, which is the normal handheld thermometers that you can take a temperature with. There's also a handheld thermal imaging, and then also complete automatic screening solutions that you set up with a camera that does a complete solution for you and measures body temperature as well as thermal imaging with that. So we also have that available already with our health tech company. Then also, apart from that, we have received a lot of requests for the sanitizing equipment as well. A lot of customers have shown interest in sanitizing stations where they don't actually physically, customers need to touch the sanitizing stations. So we've also partnered with some suppliers on that, where you can have a solution where you can use your foot and then it dispenses sanitizing liquid as well. Then just from NuPay's side, during this lockdown, so for our customers, we understand that it has been very difficult and we still want to be there for our customers. So what we have done is we have equipped all our units in our company, all our business units and staff members to be able to work remotely and still assist our customers on a day-to-day basis. We have different options available for this. We have options on the website where you can have a web chat with one of our contact center consultants online. We have Microsoft Teams. So if you do want to have a meeting From NuPay side, we can schedule virtual meetings with our customers, and they can actually have a face-to-face conversation without being physically face-to-face. Our contact center is also readily available, as they have always been, in order to take your calls. And what we've also done is our account managers have also been set up to work remotely from their homes, so they have complete access to also assist you during this time. As always, we have TeamViewer available should you need for NuPay or a Delta consultant to assist you with any settings or training online. We can also do that via TeamViewer. So in closing, what we'd like to say throughout this message is that NuPay has always been there for you. We will always be there for our customers. And we'd like to invite our customers to please engage with us. Speak to us when there's requirements that you have. If there's new innovations that you'd like to look at or NuPay to look at, to please speak to us. Also, what we'd like to do is just quickly show you a video from the Altron group, just to explain how we are there when it matters. Keith?
While life holds its breath, our streets silent, our businesses paused, while we watch from behind windows, waiting for the world to wake, we are still here, because you need us to be. We're there in the constant chatter of critical communications, connecting citizens to essential services so that while we're isolated, we're never alone. We're there in the rush of digitized data that helps health workers hand out comfort and care across the wires, keeping the patient relationship alive. We're there in the hum of enterprise and collaboration.
Johan, it seems like we had a small challenge with displaying the video, so maybe we can, while the guys are getting that ready for us on a technical side, maybe we can just handle one or two of the questions that we've received so far from the general public. So the first one that I've got for you is, how stable is the Davidic system and platform?
So having gone live with Davidic, especially during this lockdown period, we can confidently say that the system has become very stable. Just as an example, in the first month of lockdown, we processed about 2,000 Davidic transactions. This then increased in the second month to a whopping 40,000 transactions. So we can already see the increase in the transactions and the processing of those transactions going through. So yes, it's as with any new product or solution, you will have your teething stages where you'll have a few glitches, but definitely we are at a stage where it is working, and our customers can definitely use the platform already.
Fantastic. So it looks like Keith might be ready with this video for us. I can see the video on screen now. Keith, are you ready for us to start playing?
Sure.
Thank you.
While life holds its breath, our streets silent, our businesses paused, while we watch from behind windows, waiting for the world to wake, we are still here, because you need us to be. We're there in the constant chatter of critical communications, connecting citizens to essential services so that while we're isolated, we're never alone. We're there in the rush of digitized data that helps health workers hand out comfort and care across the wires, keeping the patient relationship alive. We're there in the hum of enterprise and collaboration, in the steady pulse of our organizations who may have lost their centralization, but not their people or their purpose. We're keeping the heart of our smart cities beating and our call centers fired up. We're making sure we have the access and means to feed the ones we left at home, safe and protected every step of the way. We're keeping us entertained and alive and in touch. Locked down, sure, but never locked out. Socially distant, but closer together. Limited in movement, but not in choice. Because right now, What we do, what we all do, matters. What we have is worth protecting, and who we are is worth fighting for. When we wake, and we will wake, we will see the fruit of today's labors. Every call answered, every outsider brought in, every payment made easier and trip made safer, all the ideas innovated, help given, and midnight oil burned. These shape and build our new world. They define tomorrow, and they define us. Altron, there when it matters.
Perfect. So yeah, I think that definitely explains the sentiment on our side that yes, we do want to be there when it matters, the entire Altron group, and we are there when it matters, and all it takes is a call or a chat, and we can always assist where possible. So let's go through to some of the questions. Okay, I see they are being published now.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the next one that we've got around the Davidic system, Johan, is regarding the stability of the system. You've answered that one, I think. The next question, and we've had something similar from another customer where they asked, do consumers find it difficult to authenticate Davidic transactions? One customer said that some of their customers do find it difficult to authenticate Davidic transactions. If you can comment on that.
So yes, so in Davidic, there are different methods of authentication. Some of the methods are very easy, some of the methods are not as easy. So it also depends on the bank that is sending the message through. So for example, we have seen, for example, on TT1 real time, when a transaction comes through, for example, you'll have a message stating from the bank stating the maximum collection amount. Which is not necessarily the installment amount. So sometimes a consumer can get confused because the maximum amount does not correspond with his installment amount that he has agreed to, and he might not authenticate that transaction. But at the same time, with the amount of transactions being successfully created, we can see that there is definitely improvement, and we believe going forward that there will be more improvement from the bank side as well, with authentication of the transactions.
The next question is related to new card. It is the new card promotion only for existing customers?
No, definitely not. No, the promotion is for all customers. So for new customers and existing customers. So if you don't have a new card yet, you can sign up with the platform and you can get the NuPay branded new card at the reduced cost as well.
Fantastic. I'm gonna join two questions up together here. The one is the Signiflow solution available to sign Delta documents? And then we've got someone else that says, is Signiflow application only available for Delta systems, or may other admin systems also use this?
So right now, we're using Signiflow internally at NuPay and at Delta as well. So we'll be using it internally for all our documents. So this includes NuPay and Delta, both. As we said, in the near future, we'd like to make it available to other customers as well. But that's the longer term solution. So right now we're using it internally, and it will be available for all our products internally.
Fantastic. And then we've got a request: with who do we discuss requests for specific requirements that we may have?
Sure. So your first line of contact would definitely be to speak to your dedicated account manager. Alternatively, you can phone the NuPay contact center, you can phone the Delta contact center, you can phone myself. I'm sure Vaughn customers can phone you as well. So any one of the customer relationship people you can speak to, and we can have a look at those solutions for you.
Fantastic. So how does the NuPay and Delta teams go about training customers while in lockdown? Good question.
Okay, so a large section of training has had to happen online. So we are using TeamViewer quite a bit in order to show customers the actual steps on their system or on the website, as well as Microsoft Teams. So with Teams, you can have multiple individuals across the country get together on one session, and then you can have a virtual training on that session. As this session is taking place right now with our customers, I'm sharing a presentation. This is via Microsoft Teams. So these are the types of platforms that we're using right now to engage with our customers and to provide training to our customers.
I can maybe just add to that, Fourie, if you don't mind. So NuPay, because we process transactions as a financial services provider in the national payment system, we are immediately part of essential services. We were operating in level 5. We've never been closed. And we have actually had a number of staff that have gone out to customers to go and conduct training. There are certain provisos on that we need to just take care of. We need to make sure that obviously for your safety as well as our staff that we practice social distancing, we clean hands, masks, etc., etc. So these kinds of things. But we have been servicing clients from our technical area. Fourie mentioned that during his discussion, and we have also been going out and seeing customers. It is not the norm, it is the exception, but we do go out to people and still go and see them as well. Fourie, just another question that came in from Tebogo. He asked, what is the maximum capacity that Waveland documents upload section can take? Most clients are having challenges when uploading documents.
So I don't think it's with regards to capacity on the Waveland side. I think it's more to do with the actual consumer and his technology that he has available to him in order to upload those documents. What I would suggest in a situation like that where they are struggling is maybe to speak to our Delta support desk so that they can actually go online with the customer at the same time to try and see whether there is a problem or what the problem is that they are experiencing.
Fantastic, thank you. We've got a customer that says, I need a workshop with Davidic. How does he go about that?
Please send us your details so we can schedule that for you. We definitely want to engage with our customers, especially around Davidic. So you're more than welcome to send through your details to us, and then we can engage with you on that.
Fantastic. Benny has a question. He says, do the customer need to register at the bank currently for Davidic TT1 if he needs to authorize a transaction, or is it okay if he registers for internet banking because the SMS is not getting to our clients? Very low authorization rate. So maybe just speak about the TT1 and the TT1 real-time and the TT1 delayed processes. Those are definitely different, and so forth.
Okay, yeah, no, definitely. So firstly, your customer doesn't actually need to register. If your customer has got a registered number at the bank already, they will use that registered number in order to send notifications through. So with TT1 real-time, when you have a real-time transaction, that message is pushed through to your phone immediately. So if, for example, you are currently on your phone with someone, you're not going to see that message immediately. And then also there's an expiry period as well. There's 120 seconds for you to actually authenticate that transaction. So if you have any form of delay, you're going to struggle to get that authentication through. With the TT1 delayed, we're finding that it is slightly better, and the authorization rate is also slightly higher on the TT1 delayed. For example, I mean, I'll use my own personal experience. I bank with First National Bank, and when I receive a TT1 delayed transaction, the transaction is actually pushed through to my app instead of a USSD, and then I receive a notification to say that there is a pending mandate for me, and then I can go onto the app and easily authenticate the transaction. Yes, internet banking is also one of the options available. So it also depends from bank to bank what the methods are that they're using and that they have available to their customers in order to authenticate transactions.
Fantastic. JM Cashland sent a message saying, please provide me with more information regarding the Eft Solutions and the cost of processing the payments. Well, the cost we can discuss with you directly, but Fourie, maybe just to expand on the Eft Solutions, please.
Oh, sorry, okay, I'm losing a bit of connectivity here from my side.
Sorry, did you get that? Should I repeat?
Yeah, no, sorry, I didn't get that at all.
Okay, sorry. So from Jam Cash Loans, please provide me with information regarding the EFT solutions.
Okay, so EFT Solutions. So firstly, we've got our NuPay MPS EFT solution. So this is similar to NADO, where you don't actually need to load a authenticated transaction. You can load a transaction against a consumer's account with the account details. However, bearing in mind that EFT has got limited functionality. So in terms of things like tracking, for example, you don't have that available on the EFT solution. Cost and all of that, yes, you can discuss that directly with your account manager if you're interested in that.
Fantastic. Then we've got TJ who sent in a question. He says, can I create a test loan account to myself, receive the SMS so that I know what the customer sees on their end, thereafter approve the loan? I would like to test this process, but not in a live account.
Yes, definitely you can do that. What we can also do is, if you'd like, from the NuPay side, we can also do a demo with you to actually take you through that process so that you see what it looks like from that perspective as well.
Okay. Our next question from Anonymous is Waveland upload system. Is this only available for Delta, or do you have interface for other systems as well?
Okay, so currently, yes, the Waveland is only available for Webfin customers. So in order to have that functionality, you would need to have the Webfin system available.
Then Zwandile asks, I applied for NuPay package in Vryheid. I have a permit, I'm assuming as a microfinancier. I'm told that I need to wait as all technicians are grounded. I have been trained on Webfin and I'm patiently waiting for a terminal.
Okay, Zwandile, what we can do is we can definitely assist with that. What I would like to ask you is to speak to your account manager that has been allocated to you. We will need a copy of your permit as well, so that when we do send one of our technicians or account managers out, that we have that available, that should we get stopped, we can provide a copy of both the permits, our permit as well as your permit, in order to allow us to travel to your region.
Maybe I can just add to that, Fourie. So Zwandile, we have been stopped by police, not just once, on several occasions, where we've been traveling across province borders and that kind of thing. And we need to show that the company that we are going to is actually legitimately licensed and registered. So unfortunately, there have been a number of businesses that actually achieved or obtained permits. And they were not actually supposed to have those permits. So if the transaction to us says that this is a credit provider, then we might get a problem from the police and so forth. But yes, our technicians are definitely not grounded. They are working, but we can certainly assist you with your Webfin solution to already do debit check transactions TT1 and process that through the system for you, which is also an authenticated transaction type. Then we've got a question here. Can you please repeat the question for new card? I didn't hear you properly, so that was just the question. Is it only available for current users of the new card system, the special offer?
So yes, the answer to that question was no, it's not just for existing customers. The new card promotion that we're running right now is for new customers as well as existing customers.
Okay. Then Dennis says, are you aware that some banks require the clients to dial a USSD code before authenticating, like ABSA and Capitec?
So yes, Vaughn, I mean, you've got experience with that on your account.
Sure.
If you want to share your experience.
No problem. So yes, it's true. In fact, all of the authentications are actually on a USSD platform. So that is the communication channel that is the first preferred mechanism that is used in the Davidic environment. It's not the only one. Obviously, consumers can also go into their banking apps on their phone. So if it's a smartphone and they've got the banking app on it, that's if they've got the app on it. They can log on to internet banking. They could even go to an ATM, stick in their card, select their Davidic transactions from a list, and then choose the specific transactions to authenticate. So, Dennis, yes, we are aware of the fact that the USSD code does run through to the customer, and it's asked them to do the registration. The very first time that they have to do a transactional authentication, it's typically a little bit more difficult because at times they are required to first authenticate themselves into a system. What we have found for some of the other reasons, so these are one of the small little glitches that the banks still experience from time to time, is that when we send through a TT1 real-time transaction request, the process in authenticating that transaction is actually a little bit more onerous than what it would be to do a transaction via TT1 delayed. So we always recommend use the delayed platform. The message is still delivered to the consumer virtually immediately. However, they will have a longer period in which to actually authenticate that transaction. It doesn't time out in 120 seconds. It will be available until 8 o'clock tonight, in some cases even 9 o'clock tonight. So I hope that helps. Then the next question that we've got is, how will Davidic work for SASA people with no phones? I think that there's two questions in that, Fourie. The first one is SASA and the other one's no phones.
Yeah. So firstly, in terms of SASA, if it's a post-bank account or a normal SASA account, then yes, unfortunately, they do not participate in the Davidic space. As with all the banks have to opt to participate in Davidic or not. They do have a choice in that. And for the SASA, they're not participating. If they do, however, have got a normal banking account and they receive their SASA grant in a normal account, yes, then they can process Davidic transactions. The second part, yes, in terms of the cell phone, so that is a very important part, and we have mentioned it previously in our Davidic sessions as well. It is of utmost importance that when a consumer has a cell phone and a cell phone number, that cell phone number needs to be registered with that bank or with their bank. If their cell phone number changes and they do not update it at the bank, they will not receive notifications for authentication on their transactions, and then they will struggle to authenticate their Davidic transactions.
Great. We've got a question regarding Signiflow again. Is it only available in Waveland 2 or does it also work in Waveland 1?
So
maybe we just need to clarify the position.
Yeah, so as mentioned previously, so currently Signiflow, the signing solution, we are using that internally at NuPay. So we're using it for NuPay documentation that our merchants need to sign for NuPay. So we haven't deployed this yet as a commercial product or solution with Dolphin or Webfin or any of the NuPay products itself. However, in the near future, we will be looking at that, at also implementing Signiflow for those solutions. But right now, the reason why we are using Signiflow is so that if our merchants need to sign a document with NuPay, we don't need to be face-to-face, or they don't need to print out and sign that document. They can do that electronically.
So, Fourie, the next question from Tebogo is, how do you debit government employees under PERSOL option, which is available on NuPay Davidic? So I don't know if it's actually available on NuPay Davidic. He's probably asking, is it available on NuPay Davidic, the government PERSOL payment platform?
So as far as I'm aware, no, it is not available on Davidic at the moment.
Correct. Yeah, PERSOL is actually a debit stream all on its own. It's a mechanism for you to debit against government employees. So it's not something that is available in Davidic. Then Terry asks a question, after clients authenticate in Davidic, I'm assuming, why do they still need to sign the documents? This is a good one.
So yes, so this is a debate and Q&A that has happened quite a bit over the past few years. So what we need to understand that when a consumer is authenticating a debit check transaction, he's actually authenticating the debit against his account. The mandate and the contract that he signed is the contractual agreement that he has. Now, within PASA rules, PASA stipulates that you need to have a signed mandate with your consumer for any debit processing against their account. The mandate also contains all the details around the agreement. It contains how long the agreement is, the installments, the consumer's details as well that authenticated that transaction. So it is two different components. So yes, the authentication done on debit check is authenticating that debit against your account, but that is not the actual agreement that you have with your consumer.
Fantastic. We have a question from someone that says, why do the notifications for debit check take so long to get to the client? If you want me to jump in, just say so.
You're more than welcome to.
Okay, so there's a few things that's dependent here. Okay, so number one, the TT1 real time, because it's 120-second timeout and delay, that message has to be sent to the consumer immediately. The second that the message reaches the bank. The TT1 delayed does take a little bit longer, sometimes, not always, but sometimes, to get to the consumer. And the reason for this is just volume and capacity of the banking system and network. So it depends on how much is coming in at that specific time. Sometimes they do have a delay because of signal and connectivity of the consumer as well, where they are based. So if the cell phone range or signal is bad, then they will not receive that notification. There's another option. So there's various different mechanisms. Our experience just in the TT1 real time is that there's not enough time, not sufficient time for the market segment that you guys typically service to actually get the authentications done in time. That's why we recommend you go for TT1 delayed, not for TT1 real time, although both solutions do work. We have picked up small little glitches as well. The TT1 real time, some banks send through the maximum amount instead of the regular installment amount. So when they get the amount to authenticate, they say, no, this doesn't balance. So then they stop and then they just decline the transaction. You lose the business altogether. So the best is just to be a little bit patient. It's typically at the consumer within 5 minutes maximum, but the normal turnaround time is under a minute that the TT1 delayed actually takes to get to a consumer. Then Louis asks the question, Fourie, any solution for signing documents through USSD codes sent to clients? Good one, Louis. Thank you.
So that's a very interesting solution, Louis. So right now, as of this moment, no, not as yet. The Signiflow works very similar to that, where it actually directs you to an app. But yes, we definitely like to engage with you on that to understand the requirements, and maybe it is something that we could be looking at going forward.
So maybe just to add to that, so we do have a company that we work with that does do a USSD type of an authentication platform for electronic signing of contracts. This question sort of ties in with an earlier question that we have, is why do you still have to sign the contracts after the authentication of the transaction is done? So the USSD channel to do authentication, I can tell you that I bought my current house and 2 cars standing at home through the internet. I never saw a single consultant and never signed a piece of paper at all for it. But I do have a certain sense of tech savvy. I can log in and authenticate myself on an account. I can do all of these kinds of things. So that's why my bank was able to do that with me. So the remote kind of platform with USSD is a little bit more complex. But there is a company that does this kind of thing. They charge roughly about 7 Rand for an authentication chain to go through end to end. And we are actually engaging with them right now as we speak to look at these possible solutions. It entails a customer receiving a set number of questions, which you as the operator, as the credit provider or the person who is extending the credit to this consumer would actually not know, and you would not know the answer to. So they rely on data and information coming off of credit bureaus and so forth, and they pose these questions to the consumers, and the consumers has to answer the questions correctly. And if they answer all the questions correctly, then it's approved and it says, yes, we verify that this is the person, and then they send that transaction through. So it's quite a complex thing, but it is an option that is available. It's just tricky to build into the system. And the lower down your LSM level goes that you're working with, the more difficult it becomes for them to actually start interacting and answering the questions correctly as they should. I mean, you might ask someone, so what was the name of your first wife? If that is a question that's there. So, and believe it or not, some people actually get that wrong. So they get very basic, simple things wrong, unfortunately, and that causes a problem. And then in terms of why you still need the signature on the mandate, we have tried to clear this thing up with PASA so many different times. The point is that the National Credit Act requires you to have a contract which is signed from a consumer, but they do welcome electronic signatures and things. The National Payment Systems Act says that transactions may be authenticated in the NADO space, almost authenticated for the post 40-day dispute processes through the signature. So you can refute a dispute by having a signed, a physically hand-signed mandate and so forth. They do welcome electronic mandates, but at the moment, all electronic mandates can be disputed through the process and platform, unfortunately. Those rules have not changed, but there is a big eye and a question mark and a magnifying glass on it at the moment, and they're definitely investigating that process. Fourie, the next question that we've got is, how long will it take before you get your web loans program, if that is ordered?
So very quickly, so our account managers are also assisting now with the actual installation and training on the web loan programs. We had instances last week where customers applied, and within 2 days we were able to install and fully train them on the program. So definitely engage with us, and let's see how quickly we can do it for you.
Another question we've got is, may you use the WebFund program with another admin system, or does it only work with Delta? I think we have answered that one actually. If I'm not mistaken, but yes, just to repeat it, it only works with Delta. It is a Delta system. It is not an external system. So Tebogo is asking us a lot of questions around the file sizes and things, but Tebogo, I think that's all to do with WebFund. It's not to do with web loans. But please speak to one of our consultants so we can just inform you of all the right items. Then Fourie, I'm a microfinance company based in Newcastle. My question is, when is the cutoff for ADO and NADO and fully use DebitCheck? The reason why I'm asking is I am not 100% clued up about this DebitCheck practically. Can I start experimenting with my clients?
Yes, so okay, so I think that's also a two-part question. So just the first part, so the actual sunset date for ADO and NADO has been extended to 2021. So as of the 1st of May 2021, you can't create new ADO or NADO transactions. So you still have another just under a year for that. But at the same time, yes, DebitCheck is already live. We have already, for all our existing customers, created DebitCheck merchant numbers as well. So you can most definitely start using DebitCheck already. And especially now during this lockdown period, if you're in a non-face-to-face environment, DebitCheck can definitely work for you.
Our next question from Malchus is, after the clients authenticate, I'm assuming this is for DebitCheck, will this not be disputed by a client perhaps 2 days after the debit order was successful?
No, so we need to remember that in DebitCheck, there's only 3 things that you can actually dispute on. The first one is if you change the date of the transaction to an earlier date than what was authenticated by your customer. The second option where a customer can dispute and reverse it is if you change the amount, the agreed amount. And then the third one is where it's actual fraud, and then the consumer has to prove that fraud has been committed on that. So after your consumer authenticates a transaction, he can't just reverse the transaction automatically. If it's processed within the rules, he cannot reverse that transaction.
Fantastic. Every time I try loading a TT1 transaction, it is giving me an error that states response code 901188, creditor short name not matched. Get the same on Waveland. Can you just explain that, why a person is getting that?
Okay, so in the instance where you do get a message like that, it's because your abbreviated name that's being sent through is not matching with the record at the bank for the abbreviated name. So that's something that your account manager can assist you with. So definitely please give your account manager a call so that they can assist you with your registered abbreviated name.
Another question from Malchus, can we perhaps have a manual document for clients who doesn't have cell phones for them to take to their respective banks to authenticate and file it with the rest of the loan contracts or annexes? I'm assuming again for Davidic.
So, sorry, I just need to understand the question. A document to actually authenticate.
Yeah, so Malchus, maybe just unfortunately, the methods in which a person or a consumer is allowed to authenticate is guided and managed through from the banks, and the banks all sit together on what they call the AC Steerco, Authenticated Collections, which is Davidic Steering Committee, and they make up the rules in terms of through which channels you can authenticate. So unfortunately, this mechanism or any alternative mechanisms are not allowed. So yes, unfortunately we have to look at the best possible way that we can do this, but those are unfortunately not options, or there's no other alternative options at the moment. That being said, there are talks of further TT transaction types that will be created under Davidic in the future. How far off exactly that is, we don't know, but it's probably not very close. But yes, those could be considerations for future, and obviously we make suggestions as we carry on with this process of development of the Davidic systems. So Fourie, the next question is from LMS Cash. Capitec clients get a notification of a payment after approving a debit check before we even make a payment. Is there a solution for that?
So, Capitec clients get a notification of a payment after
approving a debit check. That's interesting. What I would assume that this is about, look, in the Delta systems, Delta and NuPay combined systems, okay, this process, you've got a process which actually says that puts the transaction in a pending status, and only once you have seen that the authentication of the transaction has been done, should you release the transaction for payment through to your customer. If you're using NuCard, it's automated, then the NuCard will automatically publish that or make available the funds to the NuCard system. And then all of that's done remotely and is managed. But if you're doing a cash payment or EFT payment, then you have to go, because you're in control of your EFT solution, we are not. So you have to go and release the payment. I'm assuming that this is what it's about, if I'm understanding the question correctly. I don't know if you've got another take on it, Fourie.
So it seems it could possibly be where as soon as a consumer authenticates a transaction, it seems like Capitec might also be sending a notification to say this transaction has now been successfully authenticated and created. Because I see there that they're saying before they make a payment. So I assume this is in between the time that the consumer actually authenticates a transaction and the merchant releasing the funds to the consumer. So, but perhaps if we could get some clarity on that question, we would be able to answer it better.
Yeah. Do you want to read through Cyril Hefke's question there quickly, Fourie?
Sure. Hi, Johan. I'm experiencing some technical problems here and would really appreciate it if you could supply us with a copy of this session. Thanks in advance and keep it up. Cyril, yes, we will be making it available after the session. We'll most likely be publishing it on YouTube so that you can actually view the entire session online. So we will make it available.
Then Maury asks, we work with funeral policies. Would any of this be applicable to us?
Maury, yes, I definitely think some of it could be applicable, especially around the Davidic stuff, going forward for your transactions that you'll also be creating. So yeah, there could potentially be a lot of things that might be relevant to the funeral industry as well on the session.
Okay, so Anonymous says, what's the cost of a Davidic transaction since we've had to switch to Waveland? So maybe just to make clear, Waveland and Davidic is two different things. It's switching over from NADO or ADO to Davidic, but yes, that's the question, Fourie.
Okay, so just to clarify on the actual question around the cost. So if you on our NetBank Davidic platform, then the cost associated is 1.9% of the transaction processed on Davidic. If that answers the question.
I'm sure it does, yes. So obviously to get the details of exactly how this works, please speak to your consultant. They will give you all of the detailed information. You will know that the ADO platform sits at 2.2%. So this your new rate is 1.9%. There is a difference in how the structure works. So please, it's very important, engage with your consultant and they will give you all of the details behind that. Sipamandla says, good day. How does your Davidic compare to ADO in terms of prioritizing debit orders? For example, will Davidic get first preference like ADO do now? And obviously, I think we need to also just speak to the NADO prioritization in that same pool, Fourie.
Okay, so Sipamandla, so currently at the moment, your Davidic as well as your ADO is processing in the early morning window, in the first processing window. And right now, as it is today, your NADO is already processing in the second window. So at the moment, Davidic as well as ADO transactions will process first. And then once that processing has completed, does it move over then to NADO transactions. So in order to compare it in terms of prioritization, it's prioritized the same as ADO right now.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm just going to reiterate that the full presentation, we've got a number of questions coming in on the side asking that they've lost some information or they missed parts of it and so forth. And can we please just tell them, repeat some part of it. People, we will be making this available to you after the session. So please just bear with us and we'll give you access to that as well. So then Dennis asks, if you change the tracking days only, not the date or the amount, is it vulnerable to dispute?
No. So when I assume you're referring to dispute as reversibility in order to reverse the transaction. No, if the tracking is changed, it does not become reversible. It's still the same. It's only on the amount and the date that it becomes reversible. So you can extend your tracking on your transaction.
I see I missed one there, which is one from Terry again, which is, are we allowed to open in level 3? We haven't handled that one yet, have we?
So Terry, I would assume it depends on the type of industry that you are operating in. So we don't actually say who can and cannot open. If we had a choice, everyone would be open, I would assume. But so we follow the guidelines set forth by government, and in conjunction with their rules on who can operate during which level in the lockdown period. So it depends on which company or what type of industry that you are operating in.
So maybe I can just add there. So it's a very, very, very contentious issue, point and note. So, you know, the legislation or the rules around the various levels for specifically the financial services industry are not very clear. There's a few grey areas there, a number of them, and certainly in our minds and opinion, we would say that credit extension is part of the greater banking environment, and therefore you should be allowed to open. However, we are not the legislators, unfortunately, and because this thing is so unclear, what NuPay has done is we have written a document, a very, very carefully worded letter, in which we've highlighted the potential challenges for consumers from a loss of access to credit perspective, as well as from the credit provider's point of view, where we highlight the potential loss of jobs in the sector and industry. So we absolutely did not take the avenue of what the profits is that you guys can lose, or we, because that's not the point, and that's not what we're trying to drive home in this process. We are looking solely at the other two items. We have presented that very shortly. That was 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. Shortly after, in fact 2 days after that letter was sent, we received requests from the Reserve Bank to supply them with numbers of volumes of transactions and what the impact really is. It was not just sent to us, it was sent to the entire financial services industry. So payment systems providers industry. So if you look at systems operators, banks, insurance houses, the whole story. So everyone received these requests for data. All of that data has been sent through to Reserve Bank, and they are now working through that. It was not sent through us, obviously. It was sent through an independent, impartial body who have signed NDAs to keep all of the data confidential, so no one can actually view other people's information. So yes, it has been sent through to them. They are looking into the matter. We hoped, and we like to think that it's on the back of our letter that they initiated that process. But as Johan said, you know, we are not the legislators. We cannot say, well, you are allowed to open or not. But certainly in our mind, you do form part of the very much greater banking fraternity and industry. Then the next question from Mari again. Remember, she was on the funeral policies. Can NuCard be used for funeral parlors? I'm not exactly sure how we could. Fourie, can you possibly think of a way that we would?
Yes, so there could possibly be a way. So currently, if you have a look at some of the funeral parlors and some of the policies, they actually offer a facility to customers where, if there is a death in the family and they facilitate a funeral, that they actually give a cash payout in order to help with airtime and transfer costs and things like that. So some of the funeral companies do that. So NuCard could potentially be a method for that if your company does do that type of payout to a customer.
So very good point there, Fourie. Yes. So maybe just as an additional point, you know, if there's a policy that's going to be paid out and you're facilitating that payment for the family to actually make payment for the funeral, then obviously you could also make the funds available on a card. So that's just another way that you could also do that. So then we've got Anonymous saying, please could you run me through the debit check transaction on the terminal? How exactly is it done?
Okay, so so without having an actual terminal here in front of me, the steps are, it depends on how you're loading a transaction. So we've got different option availables on a terminal as well. So on a terminal, for example, you can create a pre-stage transaction. A pre-stage transaction is something that you actually create on the website where you capture all your consumers' details. It then gives you a reference number. You take the reference number over to the terminal. You type in the reference number, it retrieves the transaction on the terminal, and then you continue to process the consumer's transaction on the terminal. Standalone option it's a very difficult option to look at because you would need to create or capture quite a lot of fields on the terminal. But yeah, so what I would suggest is definitely to maybe speak to your account manager to take you through all the different options. But maybe to summarize, just to say that it is very similar to ADO. with some slight differences, but it is very similar to ADO if you are using ADO right now.
Okay. Then LMS cash follow-up. We do our payments, EFT payments to clients and using Max Money, but immediately after they approve the debit check, they get a notification from Capitec as if we have paid them. For example, today client got a notice of 1,870 Rand payment on 2,000 Rand loan before we make the payment. This is difficult because there's one product here which is not inside of our control and we can't actually see that. I don't know if you've got other comments.
No, I've never experienced this before, so it's a unique question.
Yeah, so I think you would have to get in touch with your account manager and give some more specific details. We need to understand that we haven't seen anything like this through our systems. Or it's the first transaction that I hear about that is like this. As Johan has mentioned, you know, we've had more than 40,000 transactions uploaded in our second month through the system. So yeah. Then John from Kroonstad asks us costing, Nedbank costing at 1.9%. What about existing ABSA clients?
So even for existing ABSA clients, you can also still process through our Nedbank chain. So just to clarify that, so when we're saying our Nedbank debit check customers, it's not necessarily for customers that are just banking with Nedbank. If you're currently banking with ABSA, you can also process via our Nedbank debit check chain. In terms of the costing, so yes, we do also have the facility available to process via ABSA. The cost is, however, higher on ABSA, but these are the costs that have been provided down by the banks to NuPay for our customers. So we have found that because the costing is less on Nedbank and also the functionality is already there for our merchants to process via Nedbank, we have urged our customers to use that option to process via Nedbank.
Okay, so maybe just quickly, ladies and gentlemen, we have actually come to the end of our period. There's one question left. I have closed the questions coming in now at the moment, so unfortunately won't be able to submit anymore. We can see from the questions that debit check is obviously a hot topic. It is critically important that you please connect with your respective account managers, the CRCs as you used to know them. It is very, very important. You can phone through to our call centers as well, and they will be able to direct you if you don't have their numbers. Let the guys get in contact with you and run you through the entire detailed training and information around this. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of similarities, but there's also quite a few changes from ADO into the debit check environment. So it is very important, please make contact with these guys and they will be able to take you through it. So just the last question that I've got here for you, Fourie, from Portia is, can you explain about the maximum collection amount on the client? Because clients will complain that we are debiting more. Okay,
so yes, Portia, so in the debit check rules, they say that there is a maximum amount that you can process an installment up to on a consumer. And this is automatically calculated based on the installment value that you are processing. So if, for example, if you load an installment of 500 Rand, the maximum value would be 750 Rand that you can collect on that specific customer that has been authenticated. So it's calculated on 1.5 times of the original amount. So what happens is automatically this is done by the system. And as we've said, yes, some of the banks, it seems when they do send the notification through, instead of sending the actual normal installment amount, they are sending the maximum amount that can be done. We have engaged with the banks on this as well, just as a FYI, and that they are looking at this as well. But in order to explain to your customers is this is an automatic amount that is calculated in the debit check space. So it's a maximum that you can process up to on an installment, but that does not necessarily mean that is going to be your installment amount.
Fantastic. I think that's a wrap, Fourie.
Perfect. So I think just in closing, from my side, I'd just like to say thank you for everyone that has participated and joined the session. Again, as we mentioned at the beginning of the sessions, if you have questions, if you have suggestions, possible solutions that we could be looking at to assist our customers, we'd like to urge you to please engage with us on it. We are continuously submitting new development requests from our side to make our customers' lives easier and to improve the experience for them. So please continue engaging with us on that. And I think based on this session, we'll definitely be having more of these sessions going forward that we can engage with our customers. So thank you very much for joining us.
100%. Thank you, everybody, and please stay safe and keep yourself safe. And we look forward to engaging with you more on all of these topics and others. Thank you.